This was surely a quiet evening. All except the oarsman lay heavily motionless in the boat's bottom. A night on the sea in an open boat is a long night. As darkness fell, the shine of the light lifting from the sea in the south changed to full gold. In the north a new light appeared, a small blue glow on the edge of the waters. These two lights were the furniture of the world. Otherwise there was nothing but waves. The plan of the oiler and the correspondent was for one to row until he was no longer able. Then he would wake the other from his dead sleep in the bottom of the boat. The oiler worked the oars until his head dropped forward and the overpowering sleep blinded him, and he rowed some more. Then he touched a man in the bottom of the boat and called his name. "Will you row for a little while?" he asked softly. "Sure, Billy," said the correspondent, slowly dragging himself to a sitting position. They exchanged places carefully, and the oiler, slipping down in the sea water at the cook's side, seemed to go to sleep instantly. Though the huge size of the waves had lessened, they still rolled the boat high. The man at the oars tried to keep her pointing into the waves so she would not turn over. The black waves were silent and hard to see in the darkness. Often one was almost upon the boat before the oarsman knew it. In a low voice, the correspondent spoke to the captain. He was not sure that the captain was awake, although this Iron Man seemed to be always awake. "Captain, shall I keep her going toward that light north, sir?" The same steady voice answered him. "Yes. Keep the light a little to the left." The correspondent, as he rowed, looked down at the two men sleeping underfoot. The cook's arm was around the oiler's shoulders, and with their scarce clothing and tired faces, they were the babies of the sea, a strange picture of two old babies. After a time it seemed that even the captain slept, and the co-respondent thought that he was the only man afloat on all the ocean. The wind had a voice as it came over the waves, and it was sadder than death. "If I am going to lose my life to the sea, if one am going to lose my life to the sea, why was I allowed to come this far and see sand and trees?" During the long night, a man might decide that it was really the purpose of the seven mad gods to kill him in spite of the awful cruelty of it, but it was certainly not justice to kill a man who had worked so hard. The man felt it would be a crime. Other people had died at sea since the beginning of ships, but still. Later the correspondent spoke into the bottom of the boat. "Billy?" There was a slow and gradual movement. "Billy, would you row for a while?" "Sure," said the oiler. As soon as the correspondent touched the cold, comfortable seawater in the bottom of the boat and had pressed close to the cook's side, he was deep in sleep in spite of the cold. This sleep was so good to him that it was but a moment before he heard a voice call his name in a tone that showed great weakness. "Will you row now?" "Sure, Billy." The light in the north had strangely disappeared, but the wide-awake captain told the correspondent how to go. Later in the night, they took the boat farther out to sea. The captain told the cook to take one oar at the rear and keep the boat facing the seas. This plan enabled the oiler and correspondent to rest together. "We'll give those boys a chance to gather some strength," said the captain. They curled down and slept once more the dead sleep. When the correspondent again opened his eyes, the sea and the sky were each of the grey colour of dawn. Later, pink and gold light shone upon the waters. The morning appeared finally in its splendid form, a sky of pure blue, and the sunlight flamed on the tips of the waves. On the distant sands were many little black houses, and a tall, white windmill rose above them. No man nor dog appeared on the beach. It might have been a deserted village. The voyagers searched the shore with their eyes. They considered their position. The captain said, "If no help is coming, we might better try to reach land right away. If we stay out here much longer, we will be too weak to do anything for ourselves at all." The others silently agreed to this reasoning. The boat was going toward the beach. The correspondent wondered if anyone ever climbed the tall wind tower, and if then he ever looked at the sea. This tower was a giant, standing with its back to the danger of small creatures. It represented to the correspondent the calm of nature against the struggles of the individual, nature in the wind and nature in the sight of men. Nature did not seem cruel to him then, nor kind, nor dangerous, nor wise. But she was not interested, completely not interested. It is perhaps probable that a man in this situation, impressed with the lack of concern of the world, should see the many faults in his own life. They may rest badly in his mind, and he may wish for another chance. The difference between right and wrong seems all too clear to him then, and he understands that if he were given another opportunity, he would improve his conduct and his words. "Now, boys," said the captain, "she is going to go under. All we can do is take her in as far as possible, and then when she sinks, jump out and go toward the beach. Keep cool now, and don't jump until she goes under." The oiler took the oars. "Captain," he said, "I think I'd better keep her head to the seas and back her in." "All right, Billy," said the captain, "back her in." The oiler turned the boat then, and, seated in the rear, the cook and the correspondent had to look over their shoulders to see the lonely and distant shore. The huge waves lifted the boat high. "We won't get in very close," said the captain. Each time a man could turn his attention from the sea, he glanced toward the shore, and in the expression of the eyes there was a remarkable quality. The correspondent, observing the others, knew that they were not afraid, but the full meaning of their glances was hidden. As for himself, he was too tired to fully understand the fact. He tried to force his mind into thinking of it, but the mind was slave now to the muscles, and the muscles said they did not care. He merely thought that if he should die, it would be a shame. There were no hurried words, no apparent fears. The men simply looked at the shore. "Now remember to get well away from the boat when you jump," said the captain. A wave suddenly fell with a thundering roar, and the water came rushing down upon the boat. "Steady, now," said the captain. The men were silent. They turned their eyes from the shore and waited. Then the next wave broke upon them. Rolling floods of white water caught the boat and whipped it around. Water came in from all sides. The little boat, dying under this weight of water, sank deeper into the sea. "Empty her out, cook, empty her out," said the captain. "All right, captain," said the cook. "Now, boys, the next one will finish us," said the oiler. "Remember to jump free of the boat." The third wave moved forward, huge, angry, merciless. It seemed to drink the tiny boat and, at the same time, threw the men into the sea. The January water was icy. The correspondent thought immediately that it was colder than he had expected to find it off the coast of Florida. This appeared to his dulled mind as a matter important enough to be noted at the time. The coldness of the water was sad. It was very sad. This fact was somehow mixed with opinion of his own situation, so that it seemed almost a proper reason for tears. The water was cold. When he came to the surface, he knew of little but the noisy water. Afterward he saw his companions in the sea. The oiler was ahead in the race. He was swimming strongly and rapidly. Off to the correspondent's left, Cook's great back appeared out of the water. Behind him the captain was hanging with his one unhurt hand to the overturned boat. There is a certain motionless quality to a shore, and the correspondent wondered that it could exist so near the awful sea. It seemed very desirable, but the correspondent knew that it was a long journey, and he swam slowly. But finally he arrived at a place in the sea where travel was difficult. He did not stop swimming to consider what kind of current had caught him, but there his progress ceased. The shore was before him, and he looked at it and understood with his eyes each detail of it. As the cook passed much farther to the left, the captain was calling to him, "Turn over on your back, Cook. Turn over on your back and use the oar." "All right, sir." The cook turned on his back and, using the oar, went ahead as if he were a boat himself. The boat also passed, with the captain holding on with one hand. They passed nearer to shore, the oiler, the cook, the captain, and following them went the water jar, sailing merrily over the sea. The correspondent remained in the grasp of this strange new enemy, a current. The shore, with its white sand and green trees, was spread like a picture before him. He thought, "I'm going to die. Can it be possible? Can it be possible? Can it be possible? Perhaps an individual must consider his own death to be the final act of nature." But later a wave pushed him out of this small, deadly current, and he found suddenly that he could again make progress toward the shore. Later still, he knew that the captain had his face turned toward him and was calling his name. "Come to the boat! Come to the boat!" In his struggle to reach the captain and the boat, he realized that when one gets tired beyond limit, death must be comfortable, an end of fighting accompanied by a large sense of relief. After a while, he saw a man running along the shore. He was removing his clothes with most remarkable speed. Coat, trousers, shirt, everything came off him like magic. "Come to the boat," called the captain. "All right, captain." As the correspondent swam, he saw the captain stand on the floor of the ocean and leave the boat. Then the correspondent performed his one bit of magic of the voyage. A large wave caught him and threw him with ease and speed completely over the boat and far beyond it. He was amazed by his own performance and by that of the marvelous sea. The correspondent arrived in water that reached only to his chest, but his condition did not enable him to stand for more than a moment. Each wave pushed him down again. Then he saw the running man come leaping into the water. He dragged ashore the cook and then went toward the captain, but the captain motioned him away and sent him to the correspondent. The man gave a strong pull, a long drag, and a big push. The correspondent said, "Thanks, old man." But suddenly the man cried, "What's that?" He pointed a quick finger. The correspondent said, "Go." In the low water, face down, lay the oiler. His forehead touched sand that was sometimes between each wave above the sea. The correspondent did not know all that happened afterward. When he reached safe ground, he fell, striking the sand with each part of his body. It was as if he had dropped from a roof. It seemed that instantly the beach was crowded with men bringing blankets and clothes and with women carrying coffee. The welcome of the land to the sea was warm and generous, but a quiet and wet shape was carried up the beach, and the land's welcome for it could only be the different and silent one of the grave. When night came, the white waves rolled back and forth in the moonlight, and the wind brought the sound of the great sea's voice to the men on the shore. And they felt that they could then understand.